We examine the case of a patient surviving with massive structural deficits to her gastrointestinal tract. Following 3 major abdominal surgeries, she is missing the bulk of her digestive system. This wireframe shows the resections: a removed stomach portion, half the small intestine, and a large intestine reduced to 20 centimeters. The physical toll is severe. At 176 centimeters, she weighs just 43 kilograms, a critically low BMI of 13.9. Functionally, she suffers from chronic severe malabsorption. Food passes through the abbreviated tract so rapidly that she experiences defecation up to 12 times a day, 7 to 8 times during the day, and 3 to 4 times at night. With this much physical tissue missing, standard metabolic processing is anatomically impossible. Survival requires a radical shift toward functional compensation. To track her condition, we are bypassing subjective feelings and structural imaging. We rely entirely on real-time localized thermometry and 4-limb hemodynamics to measure exactly how her body processes energy. Looking at this thermometry map, we see acute systemic metabolic failure. Her extremities measure below 34 degrees Celsius. Critically, the stomach region, the core of digestion, has dropped to 36 degrees Celsius. The intervention applied here is He Gong Yi Dao, a medical Qigong system that focuses on correcting internal pressure and temperature deficits. The objective of this clinical case study is to track how localized energetic interventions can stabilize extreme bodily deficiency. The clinical goal is clear: overcome a massive structural lack of digestive organs by aggressively maximizing the functional metabolic heat of the remaining tissue. The clinical log opens on November 8th, focusing on her pre-treatment baseline. This 4-quadrant dashboard displays her baseline blood pressure. The readings show dangerous asymmetry and deeply depressed systolic pressure, hovering in the low 90s in her arms. The initial intervention is light. She engages in Qigong Yi Dao physical activation exercises to stimulate blood flow. Immediately post-exercise, we see a measurable uptick. Systolic pressure rises across all 4 limbs, pushing into the low 100s, showing an instant improvement in arterial tension. However, her baseline is exceptionally fragile. By evening, she experiences a symptomatic crash, complaining of a weak voice, severe throat pain, and localized exhaustion. Localized triage is applied. The practitioner uses Jen Chun lymphatic massage and applies thermal Salonpas patches to the axillary and cervical lymph nodes. This first day establishes a core physiological reality. Even in a state of severe deficit, targeted physical activation immediately yields measurable improvements in circulatory capacity. On November 9th, a seemingly healthy dietary decision triggers an acute metabolic crisis. For dinner, the patient consumes a raw cucumber and carrot salad. In Eastern medicine, this introduces severe metabolic cold, or Han. Inside a highly deficient digestive system, raw vegetables act as a thermal sink, drawing heat away from organs that are already struggling to maintain a functional temperature. Her physiological collapse is immediate. Her face turns intensely pale, she loses all energy, and her extremities become freezing to the touch. The defining symptom of this crash is auditory, severe intestinal hypermotility, characterized by a constant, loud gurgling throughout the night. The quantitative data reflects these symptoms. The thermometry map shows her localized stomach temperature dropping precipitously, plunging from 36 degrees to under 35.4 degrees Celsius. For a severely Qi-deficient patient, standard raw diets are dangerous. They extinguish the fragile middle jiao fire required to process food at all. By the morning of November 10th, the patient is trembling, pale, and entirely devoid of energy. The protocol pivots to aggressive internal warming. She ingests coconut oil, neem with honey, and a ginger lemon tea to build internal heat. Externally, intense thermal interventions are applied directly to key acupoints. Moxibustion is administered at the Zhongtuan and Tom Jiao points, combined with vigorous abdominal friction massage. Deep systemic protocols are layered on top. She receives a vitamin B12 injection alongside Lu Qi or 6-Qi acupuncture, targeting the wood channel to stimulate organic function. She is prescribed a specific structural breathing exercise, napki chun tio, designed to manually force energy into the digestive core. By 2100 that evening, the clinical data responds to the stacked interventions. The chronic intestinal gurgling stops completely. The thermometry map shows a dramatic rebound. Her forehead temperature normalizes to 37 degrees Celsius. The localized stomach temperature specifically spikes to an intense 38.8 degrees Celsius. This massive localized temperature spike proves the breathing exercises and moxibustion provided the thermal energy needed to restart the digestive process. We advance to November 14th, the end of the intensive intervention window. This updated 4-quadrant dashboard displays her stabilized blood pressure. Vitals are now robust, with systolic numbers holding steady in the 110s and 120s. A side-by-side comparison reveals a stark delta. The 6-day data shows stabilized circulatory pressure and resolved initial asymmetry. The functional real-world outcome matches the data. Her digestive tract stabilized, allowing her to successfully return to active physical labor. Her long-term maintenance protocol strictly avoids cold foods, supplemented daily by green energy tea to maintain internal warmth. In this case, energetic and thermal interventions allowed the patient to maintain metabolic stability where her reduced anatomy otherwise failed. This data-driven recovery is built on a highly specific methodology. The Kai Kong I Dao system was engineered by Master Do Duk Nog. His work centers on bridging ancient Eastern energetic concepts with modern verifiable Western metrics. This integrative knowledge has a broad international reach, taught in academic and spiritual centers alike, such as the European Buddhist Institute in Walbrol. For clinical practitioners, the core directive is clear. Traditional interventions must be quantified. By tracking localized temperatures and forelimb blood pressure, we provide a measurable framework for evaluating traditional modalities through physiological data.